we explore business and entrepreneurship. We've got some amazing speakers lined up for you this evening where we'll be chatting to them, learning from their experiences, and drawing from those experiences as well. But just for starters, I think we need to just start off with protocol being observed, where I'm just going to share my screen. Um, Commander in Chief, please let me know if you can see my screen. I'm just sharing my screen. Fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm just going to be taking you through is a brief outline and overview of who Think Big 39 are, what we do at Think Big 39, and then we'll also just hop on to introducing our wonderful speakers who are joining us this evening. For starters, Think Big 39, what is the mission? What are they all about? What are they doing? They're building a tradition of education, empowerment through partnerships, bridging the gap between high school and university. So that's what we aim to do, and we're embracing change and disrupting norms. Now, moving on to my next slide, I don't want to give everything away. So, the key pillars of Think Big 39 are focusing on motivation, education, and development for the students that we engage with. And there are all sorts of other things, such as mentorship programs. That's just to whet your appetite. But if you want to find out more about what Think Big 39 do, please visit thinkbig39.co.za. I'm just going to repeat that, thinkbig39.co.za. Check out the website, find out how you can get involved and how you can contribute to the betterment of the South African youth with Think Big 39 as they're doing massive things. And then moving on to one of the key things that Think Big 39 are doing is they've got an educational platform, a digital learning platform, which I am saying this thing is going to blow up. It's going to be a massive thing. So be on the lookout for this. FUNA is what we call it. It's a digital campus. And I'm just going to take you through who it's for. But basically, you're able to contribute some sort of content towards FUNA. You're also able to join as a web developer or a content developer. So if you want to find out more about that, please speak to Bongani at the end of the session. He'll just drop his details on the chat and he'll tell you where you'll be able to find him. Reach out to Bongani if you want to get involved with this digital learning platform. We often talk about things such as Coursera and many others, but watch out for FUNA. This is proudly South African, and the guys are doing quite a lot of great work on this digital learning platform. Who is it made for? Just to give you further insights, we're working with schools, universities, and colleges firstly, and we're working with training providers as well as consultants, corporate companies, non-profit organizations, and content developers. Again, if you want to get involved with this digital platform, either you want to put your own content or syllabus onto FUNA, please reach out to Bongani. But the call to action is also that if you are a content developer and you want to get involved in this, the further development of this digital platform, please reach out to Bongani. He's going to put his details on the chat. So look out for Bongani's details on the chat. Now, what we're also going to do, a big plea that we have is that at the end of the session, obviously, there's a saying that says breakfast it says that improvement is the breakfast for champions. So feedback is the breakfast for champions. We would also delight in having your feedback so that we know where to improve with our sessions. But we're going to put out surveys at the end of the session to allow you to be able to give your feedback as to what your experience of this session was like and how we can also improve. So please look out for that, and I will remind you towards the end that we've got the surveys. Please help us out with that just by completing those surveys. And again, just a reminder, if you are interested in being a content developer with FUNA, it's an amazing platform. I've seen it. Please reach out to Bongani. This is the final call to action. Now, for the moment that you've all been waiting for, I'm sure you've been licking your lips and saying, okay, cool, we know about the organization, but let's get into the business of the day. Let's get into the main course. So what we've got on the lineup, we've got amazing speakers, starting off with Diketso Setho. I'm not going to read out his bio for you. If you want to know more about him, just go onto the Funa, go into the webpage and visit Think Big. You'll see more details about him. Please follow them on social media on Facebook as well as on Instagram, and you'll be able to get more details about Diketso. But Diketso is a self-taught coder. He built an online mall for township businesses. So this is the take a lot of Kasi businesses. Check it out. It's called ghmall.co.za. ghmall.co.za. That's the mall that he's built. I don't want to give too much away. So when we get into the question and answer sessions, please get ready with your questions and we'll be engaging with Diketso about that. He calls himself a parapreneur. I like the term, and we'll chat more about that when we're doing the questions and answers. Sorry, is that a question? Okay. So he's a parapreneur who believes patience is the mother of all success. That's Diketso Setho. And then our next speaker, who's going to be joining us this evening, is Tiang Moabelo. He's got a very, very long bio, but he's doing quite a lot of exciting things. He's the founder of Load a Lot. That is a moving company, and they have the first AI technology tool that provides a quotation by using pictures. So we'll delve a little bit deeper into his story as to what led to Load a Lot when he was still in UCT. He's going to share a lot of insights on his journey and all sorts of other things related to business and how the business is faring at the moment. And then, last but not least, we're going to have Tumelo Mogale. Tumelo obtained his degree in electronic engineering at the University of Pretoria, and after 3 years, he quit his engineering job and he went into a creative director role at a company that he also founded called BSV. So he quit his engineering job to pursue a business in the creative environment. So many of us, when we study, we end up actually not doing what we studied. So there will be very valuable lessons that we can draw from Tumelo Mogale, where he's going to share a couple of nuggets related to how he transitioned from a very technical field such as engineering into a creative space. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my first part or my assignment for what we're about to engage in this evening. The conversation with my brother here, Diketso, on his business. Diketso, so your business is very fascinating in a sense that um, the township economy is a multi-billion rand industry, and one would possibly even argue that it's a multi-billion dollar industry. And it's a very interesting concept that you're running with, where you are connecting different entrepreneurs. How did your journey start? What made you get to the point where you are at? What is the big why? Like, why did you get into that specific business?
Okay, thank you very much. So Diketso is actually a self-taught developer. So I
Yeah,
never went to varsity or college
yeah,
for IT. So I'm actually a social entrepreneur. I volunteered in a number of organizations which are located in my town, and I've been a volunteer for about 5 years. So all I do is bring value to the people. So
okay,
what led to the GH Mall was I saw a problem and I tried to come up with a solution. And the solution I came up with was to create a space where people can actually be able to support local business. They always say support local business, but I, as Diketso, I don't know about a business located in Eastern Cape. And
yeah,
it can be due to geographical areas. Most township businesses tend to lose sales due to their geographical areas, and they cannot afford to hire their web developers and software developers, and there's no money to sustain the website as well.
yeah. So as a social entrepreneur, I think one other thing that we would kind of like to unpack there. People talk about social entrepreneurship, but just dovetailing off what you said, what is a social entrepreneur? What does that mean? Is it an NPO? Am I making money? What if I want to be a social entrepreneur? So perhaps if you could unpack that a little bit for us and share your insights on what exactly is a social entrepreneur.
Well, a social entrepreneur is an entrepreneur who doesn't most likely to be focusing on money. They are
Yeah,
not likely to be business people. Those are people who are running organizations like NPOs. Those are people
sure.
who are uplifting our communities. Those are the people who are bringing value to the people with affordable charges. I can say that.
Okay, fantastic. So in a sense, it's not a non-profit organization. You're not, is that what you're saying? I'm not running an NPO, it's more of a non-profit company. Is that the concept of being a social entrepreneur?
Well, to be honest, being a social entrepreneur doesn't mean you do not need to make money. Same goes to
Yeah,
an NGO. I mean, there's a need whereby you need to make money for sustainability of the organization. There's a vision of the organization. So you really need to make money, but the money shouldn't be made in a sense of a private company whereby the charges are highly rated. An organization can be able to make money, but up to a certain amount of money, which I think it can be around 2 million if I'm not mistaken. So in that case, that money can be used to sustain the organization, and it's not used for private use like members use. I know that in a private company,
sure.
after spending the money on the company, you are able to make a profit and take the money in terms of the percentage. But in NPOs, the money doesn't belong to you. The assets do not also belong to you. They belong to the organization.
Oh, okay. Fantastic, fantastic. No, thanks a lot for sharing your insights in that regard. Now, Tinabo Malambani, we work 8 to 5, or 8 to 4, whatever you want to call it, 9 to 5. What is it like on a day-to-day basis being a social entrepreneur? You work in fixed hours because I mean this is a business that operates on the premise that you want to do good in society. Not to say other businesses are not doing that, but what is your day-to-day work environment like? Is it you looking for new businesses, or perhaps if you can just take us through what you do on Monday till Friday? Somebody might be thinking here, hey, I also want to make a difference there. So, what are the working hours like? What's the work environment like?
Well, to be honest, I always hear people saying things like, well, bosses do not work because he can just knock out at 9 o'clock. But to be
Yeah,
honest, it's not like that. When a CEO or a boss knocks off, he has the everything like the liability and other things as well on his shoulders. He's carrying the whole company. He can just decide to say, okay, there won't be any company. So you as a person who's saying bosses do not work, well, you are not handling the as much responsibility as a boss. So to be honest, my daily work is I hardly sleep. I work more often into improvements of the mall, the system, the security, adding new features. I mean, you can't just do a business and not improve.
yeah,
As a person or rekisa magwenya ko khoneng, you can't be at the corner there like without improvement for the next 3 years. Like,
sure.
what are you doing with the money? Are you working? Are you an entrepreneur who's using the money for his stomach purposes or for business purposes? By business, we are meaning bringing value to the people, bringing
Yeah,
change. If you can bring change and value and people like it, I mean, you are most likely to have a successful business.
sure. Thanks a lot for those nuggets, man. I've got so many questions that I'd like to ask, but let's just park it here for now, and then perhaps let me just switch to Tiang. If you could perhaps please spotlight Tiang, Commander in Chief, so we can just explore the business of Load a Lot. It's a very interesting name, similar to Take a Lot. Hey Tiang, how you doing, brother?
All good, thank you. I don't know if everyone can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Thank you. I'm all man, and yourself?
No, I'm good, thanks, man. So I was being told your story, but I think it's better when it comes from the horse's mouth that you were in UCT, and as you were studying in UCT, one of the needs that you saw or gaps in the market was that people were moving stuff around residences. Mhlambe bathi short left trying to move a fridge, other people carrying it on their heads and stuff. And that's where the idea came about, I suppose. But when you started that, what's your big why behind that? I mean, yes, you saw a gap in the market, but we know that entrepreneurship is a very difficult environment to undertake. So, what was your big why in getting into that specific business?
I think, first of all, thank you for this opportunity, guys. Just to answer that, my answer will more so be in line with the vision, Lodelog's vision.
Yeah,
In 2016, after we saw the niche, we started this company. And I mean, I suppose we all know, have an idea how stressful moving is. And as an entrepreneur who is a problem solver, the aim is, and in the most simplest terms, is to simplify the entire process of moving.
sure.
If you read about it, moving is regarded as one of the top three most stressful things under the
Yeah.
sun, and that's after divorce. If it doesn't cost divorce, or it was caused by divorce. So now that is a problem right there, and solving that problem is what we are about.
Sure. And look, I mean, I love the fact that it's, in economics, there's the term that talks about the universal hand, or something like
Hi
that.
guys.
As you're Hey, as you're making money out of that specific business down the value chain, you're also benefiting society. That's an
Mm,
amazing idea. And
mm,
just to unpack it a bit further, we talk about the AI aspect of your business. Where What does it mean that if you can give a quote just from seeing a picture? Would you maybe unpack that for some of us who didn't study IT or have no understanding of that stuff?
okay. Uh, so now the AI model, what the reason we came up with that solution is
Yeah,
particularly if you look back into traditional companies, and others are still using the same process, is that when you want to move, you have to call the company, send them an email. They will send you an inventory list. You have to print it out. You have to take the stuff that you'd like to move, scan it, email it back to them, wait for a day or five, have them call you back just to let you know how much it is, right? And that alone, that's just the first part of moving. It's not even like actually cleaning or packing and all that. And already that process is hectic. So with technology, of course, and the use of real-time technology, we realized that, with how technology, or rather how people have evolved, a
yeah,
simple process of just taking a photo and getting a quotation instantly would go a long way into cutting down, some of the stressful processes and booking your move and eventually having your move done. So this was just the process and the solution to solve this problem of having to, go back and forth with the companies, while you can do this in 5 easy steps and get the quotation and even pay for it online and have your move booked.
wow, that's amazing, bro. So if I want to move my stuff, where do I get a hold of you, and how do I get a
You
hold of you?
go you go to www.loadalot.co.za.
Oh,
You
fresh.
go, yeah, and it's a simple 5-step process that allows you to take a photo of your room, and the model identifies the furniture items. You just confirm the ones that you would like to move, get
Yeah.
an instant code, pay, and have the trucks dispatched to help.
Ah, that's amazing, bro. Thank you so much. So just
No
for the benefit of the audience, I'm just gonna pause it here. Since it's Women's Month, I'm no longer allowed to monopolize the stage alone. So I'm going to hand over to the beautiful Masechaba Kobola, who is my co-host and co-star. Masechaba, over to you, my sister.
Okay, now welcome to the Standout Conversation Business and Entrepreneur session. My name is Masechaba Kobola, and I'm your host for tonight. I'm super excited I'm super excited. I hope that you all are as well. So, what was the vision for the business before starting it?
Hi, Mr. Chaba. Please repeat the question.
Okay, my
Sorry.
question. my question was what was the vision for the business before starting it? What actually came to you to actually say, you know what, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, I think my initial answer basically encapsulated that in that, we found the industry that has not been disrupted in a while, right? And we found that the service that we offer is actually a big one, particularly looking at how stressful that problem is. And I would like to say that the problem itself, right, led us to our vision of wanting to create a solution or come up with a solution that will help people to find a better moving solution and also simplify the entire process.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Tumelo, please do tell me about the challenges that you actually faced in developing and running, or rather growing your business.
Hi, I'm not sure if I'm already answering questions. I haven't gotten the chance to introduce myself.
Okay, please do. Actually, the stage is yours.
Hey, she's putting you on the spot there, bro. Eh?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just came in. Hi, everybody. My name is Tumelo Mogale. Apologies actually for being late. I'm actually at a gig as we speak. I run a videography company, so I'm at a client where I'm providing my services currently. So yeah, glad to be on Think Big 39, and I really think you guys are doing very important work here. So, sorry, just to go back to your question, the question is what? What challenges?
Yes, definitely.
Well, look, so coming out of employment and going into self-employment or entrepreneurship definitely presents its challenges. Because just the way of thinking when you're employed versus when you're an entrepreneur is quite different. Now you have to learn how to get clients, how do you convince people to spend money on you, essentially? How do you convince people that what you do has value? And
Yeah.
so, I mean, look, running this business in general is about money. If you're not making money, then what you're doing is a hobby. So yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge has been getting clients.
And if you were to share with me, how did you validate your business concept before starting it?
Yeah, no, I'm not a traditional business person. I didn't validate my business before I started it. I really just went in and started it. And, you learn along the way how to fix problems as they arise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And coming to you, Diketso, I need you to now share with us the joy of entrepreneurship. Sometimes how business owners on our social media accounts are just living it, it looks like they have it all. It looks like they have it easy. What are the joys of entrepreneurship? What's that one reason that will make you say, I am never working for anyone else?
Well, okay, to be honest, entrepreneurship is not for the weak-hearted. It's not for people. By weak-hearted, we mean people who are waiting for funding. We are doing it broke. We are doing it without funding. We are doing it now. So if you have an idea and you want to do it now, like you have to do it now. By the time you come across funding, you should be having a lot and lots of improvement. So it's not really about living the life or something, because okay, the image that people portray outside, it's not really what they've been doing. I mean, they work 24 hours a day, most of them. It takes years and years before you can actually retire and say, okay, this is my business. I've got people who are working under me. I've got people who are running the show. But yeah, you can't just hire somebody without anything.
And how has the COVID-19 impacted your business, and how did you get to adapt to the situation? Because at the end of the day, we need to understand that this is our new norm. We can't just pause life simply because there's this illness that we don't even know.
Well, in terms of COVID-19, yeah, but especially in the township people, it caught us prepared. And if you look at things, we have already lost most of the township economy towards the Ethiopian shops. We have lost a lot of businesses towards them. But in terms of the e-commerce side, the e-commerce side in the township, it's still not disrupted as yet. There's still a long way to go before we can make people adapt towards the e-commerce side, to tell them about the safety of it and the convenience behind it. And yeah, we still have got a long way to go, but like COVID-19, we still have got a long way to go. And I do believe that e-commerce, it's the way, it's a new norm way of doing business.
Yes. And with regards to Tiang, you run a business that is dominated by, well, is online, you know, and we do know that we live in a 4IR industry, or rather a revolution. We are heading technology and innovation and all of that. How do you plan to stay relevant? How do you plan to continue making the app or the website even better, you know, or the way of business better?
Hey, sorry, Tiang, we don't want to miss out on those bars, bro. You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, so with us, the one thing that we invest in and we will stay invested in is R&D, which is research and development. With what we provide, and that is our AI model, of course. We were the first in the industry. So you can imagine now, without any data, we had to collect that, right? Consolidate it, have hypothesis, and of course, execute and test it out. So now that the one advantage that gives us is that we are ahead of whoever is coming to of course adapt to it and want to implement it to their business. But because of time and the time that we've had since we've launched the model or the web app, is that we've been collecting much more data, understanding and validating our learnings. And with R&D, of course, already we have certain things that we've picked up, the trends analysis, and we are, I'd like to believe that currently we are far ahead compared to someone who hasn't even tapped into implementing such a model. So research and development at the moment is what we believe in and what we have as, you know, our biggest tool to being ahead and relevant.
And how have you adapted to your to the COVID situation?
Actually, COVID worked out for. It wasn't too bad for us. It bought us time. You know, that's when we developed our web app. Everyone was home, you know, so people were willing to work for, you know, normally when people go to the office and then go back home, you know, when they get home, they tend to be lazy or want to commit to other things. So that allowed our team to actually put in extra hours. We had access to a lot of people as well who were at home to help us test the model and give feedback. So it bought us time, and immediately after level 4, that's when we launched our web app. So it wasn't too bad.
So in my next question, this is going to be for each of you guys. So what type of funding was your business built on? I think we're going to start with you, Tumelo. It's been a while.
Do you enjoy my voice? So my business was funded off of personal funding. So as I mentioned, I was employed before I started my business. So I took some of the savings from my employment to help start my business.
Tell me about that. Tell me about how the discipline. I mean, there's a point where I'm sure you got your UIFs and your everything, you know, the money is a lot. And instead of actually blowing it up and being one of the guests, more I blew it, you decided, actually, I'm going to start a business. What kind of discipline does it take for one to actually start a business from their own pocket?
Well, it's not so much discipline than it is hunger and necessity. And look, So at the end of the month, if you've got no money coming in, that's discipline. That'll
Yeah.
teach you that'll teach you discipline the hard way. So I mean, so look, I mean, you have to think as a business owner about tomorrow. It's
Yeah.
not just about today, it's about how is the business going to go forward tomorrow and how is it going to generate money for me in the future. And so I mean, if you can't think like that, then I think you're not meant to be an entrepreneur.
All right, I've got a question for that, but we'll come back to it just after Diketso response to how what type of funding was his business actually built on.
Well, even today, my business was never built on funding. So it was built on sales. So it's me selling and, well, managing the money correctly into important things that the business needs. You know, so I never got funding from any company or any organization.
Okay. And Tiang?
Yes. So when we founded it, we basically were just bootstrapping for 4 years till 2019. When I started Load a Lot, we literally went to the streets and we chased every bakkie owner or bakkie driver we saw and proposed a commission-based agreement, brought them in and just raised money from there. And in 2019, that's when we got an angel investor.
Yeah. I have to go back to the question that I wanted to ask Tumelo. I think this was based on your answer, actually, in terms of how the hunger is what makes the discipline, right? And how, yeah. So what I'm trying to ask you here is, what exactly? I can't phrase it. I'm unable to phrase it. Okay, I've noticed that quite a lot of entrepreneurs do not think for the future, right? As soon as they make their biggest sale, you forget. What advice would you give to someone who has started a business and they're getting their first big break, if I can put it that way?
So
And
my advice,
money.
excuse me?
And just blowing the money, like what advice would you give to someone who sees their first big break, their first million, if I can put it like that, with
So I think maybe when you start a business, you have to really think about what you're in it for. And depending on who you are, blowing the money could be your goal, you know? Could be that you're starting the business so that you can afford to buy a Mercedes, or you want to buy a new house or whatever, you know, you want to afford a certain lifestyle. And I mean, once you make that money, that's your indication to blow the money.
Yes.
So, I mean, it depends. So I think about your goals. What do you want to do? What do you want to get out of the business? I can't prescribe to someone that you're supposed to use your money for X, Y, Z. I mean, it depends on your goals. But generally speaking, when we start businesses, we want them to live for a long time. So you're in it for the longevity. And I would say, I mean, really think about what is the thing that you can spend your money on today that's going to get you money tomorrow, right? What investments can you make with your money to ensure your future? So yeah, that's the advice that I can give.
And in my other question, how do you guys plan to stay relevant? I mean, times are changing. We're moving with the Young, can you just answer that for me? I think Tiang's network is a bit glitching, so we can just move on to Diketso for some time, and we'll actually go back to Tiang after that.
What was the question again?
My question was, how do you plan to stay relevant in the business path that you took?
Well, my plan is to not spend a day without going into GHMO. I mean, if I can't spend a day without going online and searching for my website. I don't care if the network or whatever. So staying relevant, it's about reading the current content and making sure that you listen to what is it that people really need out there? I mean, if you're selling something that is no longer relevant, it's because you did not do as much research and you did not meet your customers' needs. So it's about knowing what customers are really in need of and implementing it into your solution.
Yeah. Tumelo, I think Tiang is having quite a problem with his network.
Oh, sorry, I thought he was just frozen.
Yeah, I can
I thought
see.
now that he listened.
You are so playful.
No, man. So how do I plan to stay relevant? Hey, that's the question. As the brother Diketso said, it's about upgrading your skills, man. Always making sure that you are up to date with your abilities. So I'm in a content business, and it's a very fast-paced business. There's always people coming up with new ideas and new techniques. So it's about, staying abreast with what other people are doing, always researching, always trying to find out new things. I think 90% of my time is spent on YouTube just learning what other people are doing. So
Yes.
that's how I stay relevant.
Okay. We are actually approaching the end of our beautiful show. These are actually more interesting. So what are the major lessons you've learned on your entrepreneurial journey? This will be for Tiang. I assume he's out. Okay, Diketso, what are your major lessons that you've learned? I mean, I believe running a business is the hardest thing ever.
Well, yes, it is hard, and discipline is always the key. I mean, what you post on social media, how you take care of your social media is what drives the people and your followers to be following you. And discipline. It's always about discipline, knowing how to respond to people, how to handle your network. I mean, your network can be your net worth. So yeah, it's discipline.
Mm-hmm. And with you, Tiang, how do you plan to? I mean, what are your major lessons learned in your business?
Apologies, Ga network. Yeah, I literally just got to the heart of Mpumalanga now. So I even thought I was going to be late. So it might cut here and there, but I'll try to stay connected.
Okay.
The question again: challenges or learnings?
Lessons it is.
Yes. I mean, and we all know, have an idea that entrepreneurship is one hell of a hard thing. And but the one thing that I picked up was the importance of making right decisions and making right decisions fast with how technology is, evolving and how everything is just happening so fast and how we all are vulnerable to competition. So the importance of decision making and making good and right decisions and as fast as we possibly can.
Okay. My question here is, entrepreneurs made? Are they self-made, or this is something that you're born with?
So actually your question is, are leaders born or are leaders made?
Yes, you could put it in that way.
Well, leaders are born to be groomed or made, so it's most likely that even if you have got your leadership skills, but your leadership inside you, but if you do not have the skills to handle people, listen attentively to what people are saying. I mean, before I even answer you, I need to be able to listen. Even if you're gonna be telling me something that can take up to an hour, I need to listen to you. And we are actually born to be made or groomed.
So it becomes better as you grow.
Yes, the more you handle your leadership and show it to the people and connect with people who can actually mentor you. I mean, there's no leadership without a mentor. You need to look at your mentors.
Okay. And what do you, Melo?
The same question that you asked, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, so I mean, let me just become philosophical here for a little bit. I think if you are born like from a king's bloodline, right? You're a prince, right? By birthright. But you can decide to walk away from that. That's completely fine. I think we're born to be whatever you want to be. And then you make the decision to either embrace it or not embrace it. You know? So it's the age-old question of nature versus nurture. I mean, what's more influential to a person's life? But I think decision making at the end of the day will become your destiny. Whatever you decide to be, you are that. I mean, I was supposed to be an engineer, but I woke up one day and decided I'm going to be a content creator. So that's the power of decision making. So I mean, I'm leaning more towards you're made to be whatever you. I mean, you choose to become whatever you want to be.
Yeah. And in my last question, before I do hand over to Ezekiel, what advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur? Tiang, please take that for me.
Apologies. Please repeat the question again.
What advice would you give to someone who's an aspiring business owner and an entrepreneur?
Sorry, on a point of order, Chair. On a point of order. Masechaba, I think that would be a good question to pose to all the contestants or all the panel members here.
Yes.
And if Tiang can kick us off with that question, then the other gentleman can also take the same question.
Yes, definitely. I was actually going to do that.
I think the best advice would be to network and to learn. I believe that, if we ever stop learning, particularly the industry, learning is not limited to just books, to industry, to the target market. If you have a certain target market in mind, learn the trend. There's just so much to learn, and one should always be willing to learn. And the reason I'm also emphasizing networking is because it goes a long way. I could go much deeper into trying to explain that, but let me just leave it at simply networking and learning.
Yeah. Tumelo?
I would say always try to manage your motivation. Right? So motivation is not something that you get once off. You don't get inspired once. It's something that you always have to keep nurturing. So read books, hang around people who are of the same mindset. Because as a business owner, if your mindset is not where it's supposed to be, then the whole business crumbles, well, initially, right? So motivation is very key. Keep yourself motivated.
Now, last guest, Diketso, what do you have to say to someone who wants to be an entrepreneur?
Well, first thing I'm going to say is that this is not an easy journey. Otherwise, everybody would have chose to take it. And you need to do it, broke. You need to manage your self-motivation. Posting your codes on social media without doing any action is not enough. And you just need to manage your self-motivation and push each and every single day.
Okay. We have actually come to almost at the end of our show and our conversation. I do not know if Ezekiel has something to say, or Mogale, do you have anything to add for our guest?
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Masechaba. Great job there. I see quite a lot of questions coming through on the chat, and I'm gonna try. Guys, please keep them coming. Please keep them coming. And if there are any questions coming through from Facebook, please also put them on the chat here. We're gonna have a bit of a fireside chat here. So, the first question is addressed to Tiang. How do I get an angel investor? You mentioned an angel investor. Firstly, I think the question started off with how do I get one, but it would be good to also perhaps outline what is an angel investor and how do I get an angel investor? I think I would just add on to that initial question that was posed on the chat. Tiang, if you could just maybe take that question.
Okay. Well, an angel investor is just 1 second. 1 second.
Okay, cool.
Sorry. An angel investor is basically, it could be Tumelo, it could be you, Ezekiel, basically an individual that comes into your business and they inject money. Normally, as someone who is in line with what you're trying to achieve, could be in a space of a year or 5, right? Because of course there's growth and scaling. So basically, an individual who is of interest to you and also has an interest to your company, and you bring them in as a shareholder. How do you get an angel investor? Of course, there are different ways. One, the common one is it's either you normally are approached by someone who sees you doing a good thing and they would like to be part of it. 2, you approaching a person that you think would be relevant to what you're trying to achieve as a business, and pitching to them, and showing to them your idea or your vision, or of course what the work that you've put in, and then ask them to come in as a shareholder. So I think I answered the question. You can approach them, and sometimes it happens that they approach you. But
so
cases normally approaching someone.
Okay, fantastic. Before I let you go, just latching onto that question of an angel investor. There's a concept of when I want to get funding, they call them the 3 Fs: approaching friends, family, or fools. How sensible is it to get funding from friends and family? Is that something perhaps that you've experienced, and is that a good angel investor perhaps to even approach?
Yes, actually, in I think a year of bootstrapping, we tried to raise funds to acquire a truck. What we did, we call it crowdfunding. That's when you approach your family, or normally, and I strongly recommend, if you can, if the person is approaching you, or family or friends, they don't have the skills that you need to grow your business. Yeah. Rather keep it as a grant or donation, and not on equity basis, because it will bite you in the butt going forward. So you can approach your family, your friends, and ask them to donate or contribute into your business, of which we did, and I think we raised about 1,450, and we were asking for 80,000, right?
Wow. Now, let me not. I've got more questions, follow-up questions, but let me respect the protocol and be like a parliamentarian and abide by the rules of Parliament. I'm just going to move on to the next question. Thanks, Tiang. We'll come back to you. So I'm just going to move on to the next question, which is directed at Tumelo. They say, why did you choose to go into content creation, especially given that he was moving from such a technical field? And that's a very brilliant question. You've gone from maths and science, from a very technical based discipline, and you've gone in the complete opposite direction, switching your brain from one side to the other. Tumelo, what inspired that move, man? And perhaps latching onto that as well, what's the transition been like for you?
Well, first of all, I'd like to address the mistaken thinking that content is all creative and engineering is all technical. I think both fields live kind of in between, because even in engineering, you have to think creatively. If a problem presents itself, your technical understanding of how to add 1 and 2 is not going to help. You need to think outside of the box. You need to think about, how am I going to solve this problem? And in the same way, when you're doing creative work, there's a lot of technical stuff to understand. How do you set your camera? Where do you place your lights? There's a lot of calculation involved there as well. So it wasn't that much of a hectic transition. It's just you're taking your thinking and you're just shifting it a little bit. So the transition hasn't been too hectic. The thing that has been hectic though is you having to be a leader. You know, when you leave your job, you're an employee and you take orders from someone else. Now, when you have your own business, you have to give the orders. Do you know what I mean? You have to think about where's your business going tomorrow. And it's a different skill set, definitely, from being an employee. But yeah, still here, still going.
Oh, fantastic. Before I let you go, there's actually a question that popped up in the chat. It relates to exactly what we were talking about, just dovetailing off the transition. Hey, people, you know, we want to know about money. Eh? So the question says, it says, how is the transition like from getting a salary to making your own salary? I know you said, hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do in order to eat, but I suppose Nwako would want you to, or the person who posed the question, Siabonga, would want you to elaborate a little bit on the transition of now becoming your own boss and paying your own salary. What was the transition like?
Yeah, I think you need to manage your expectations in that regard, you know, coming from being paid. Well, look, I think let me give you an example that'll be very illustrative. When you are employed, on your day of being paid, every day that day comes, you don't have to worry about anything. You know you're going to be paid. Now, when you're employed, you have to talk to people. It's people skills. You know, some people don't want to pay. Now you have to chase payments and all of that stuff. So you need to manage your expectations. It's not all going to be smooth sailing, and you know, you can't expect that you're going to start your job and people in the industry already know you, people already respect you. You have to earn that. And initially, when you're starting out your business while you're building your reputation, you need to understand that you might not be making any money at all. You know, the first few months, you might not be making any money at all. But through building connections, through improving your skills, through putting out more of your work and earning that respect from people and prospective clients, that's when you start making your money.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for that, bro. You mentioned leadership skills. Now you're touching me on my studio, but I'll hold that question and come back just to it's a critical question that I will pose a bit later on. But let me ask this question as well. You guys talked about motivation, man. You've got to be self-motivated, but what are we know that entrepreneurship poses a lot of challenges to entrepreneurs, man. In fact, the failure rate is so high that people get into entrepreneurship within the next 6 months already looking for a job. What does one need to do to stay motivated? What is the source of your motivation? Is it the why factor? What is the source of your motivation when you keep going, bro? That's for
Sorry,
you to man. That's for you to
oh,
man.
third question
Yeah.
for me. I thought you were moving on to the next person.
No, no,
So
I'll move on soon. We're
all
not
right.
over you yet.
To be fair, no one can get over me. I mean,
I love your humility, man.
yeah. I put that in my CV, the most humble guy. So look, my motivation is practical. It's needs based. It's not. Look, I mean, it's great to read books and see how other people motivate themselves, but for me, it's very practical. I need to make money. I cannot make money if the business is not running. Once you make the decision to leave your job and start something that's untested, if you don't commit, if you give up, then what was that all for? So,
Yeah.
so for me, like I said, it's very practical. I run the business. If my head's not in the game, the business is not running. So,
And someone might be thinking, comrade, when you dived and took the plunge, did you take the plunge with your pension funds and your provident funds and any other funds because it was self-funded, or is that still kept for rainy days?
some of it is still there. Some of it was used to purchase some equipment and pay for certain things. But yeah, a lot of it was from my savings.
Oh, cool stuff. Cool stuff. Thanks a lot, bro. I'm gonna bring you back, man. We're not over you yet. Let's just give you a bit of a breather and get to Diketso. Diketso, there's a question for you. How did you initially learn coding on your own independently? and how is it applied to your concept or your business? So how did you initially just learn coding, and how do you apply that to your business concept?
Well, I started learning how to code 2016. Well, it was because I was forced. You know, when I saw my friends after matric going to universities and colleges, and I didn't have any money, so I was forced to learn coding. With my small cell phone, yeah, Samsung, I remember I downloaded some apps,
The
applications, and went
V360, bro.
online. I did not really V360, but it was Samsung. I think it was Pocket Me or something. So I downloaded the apps from the Google Play Store and I started learning how to code. Even today, I'm still learning. So if we perceive in the context of coding, you can never be a great coder. So up until you learn how to code, and you just need to learn each and every single day. You cannot understand the whole of a computer language. So through my journey of learning how to code, I started to realize that, okay, I've learned how to code, but I'm a self-taught, so I'm less likely to be employed by companies because I do not have a certificate. So I started my own business so that I can hire myself. So in terms of a GH Mall, I developed GH Mall. I do the APIs. I did the GH radio. So most of the things, the GH radio applications, they are developed by me. So in a way it can be saving money, a lot and lots of money. And there are most people who want to start businesses. Most of them, if we look at the technical side, they've got ideas, but they do not have skills. So when you want to hire somebody, it's a lot of money. It will cost you a lot of money. So in my case, I do not have to spend when it comes to development and maintenance. I do it myself.
So just latching off the back of that, you do everything yourself. Is that practical from a scalability perspective, in terms of scaling this platform to the number of businesses that you're working with? If you're doing it all by yourself, does that not bring about any bottlenecks? And as a social entrepreneur, your team, how do you bring in your team? Is there some sort of funding to bring in your team members, or are you just running the business alone?
Currently, I'm running the business alone. I know it's a huge thing, but I'm
Yeah,
running the business alone because there's not really enough funds to sustain other people as well. So the reason why I'm running it alone, I think it will be up until the point where I feel like, okay, the business needs to be scaled up to this point, and it
yeah.
needs new ideas, new minds, and new hands. But for now, it can be empty promises to other people.
Testing one, two. Diketso, are you still with me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Diketso, are you still with us? Sorry, bro. Yeah, we lost you there for a second. If you could just backtrack one step, and you were talking about you cannot basically provide for others when you're still at that situation. I think that's where we left you.
Yes, because I'm still currently a startup myself. I mean, we blew
Yeah,
up around January to December. So there's
yeah,
still not enough funds to be able to sustain people. I think most young people, the reason why we lose and we tend to be failing in our business is because 100 rand anyana, and then you already want to hire somebody, and there's gonna be at least somehow. I think you better be ready to know your business as well and be able to do things which you cannot ask people to do things. You can't ask somebody to do things if you can't do something yourself. I mean, as
yeah.
a leader, you have to be at the forefront. If somebody, there's going to be a delay, especially if we look at the organization. You know, running an NPO is very hard. I've run an NPO for the past 5 years, and I feel like running a private company, it's more and more simpler than running an organization. An organization, there are a lot of rules and regulations behind it. So running a private company, that's why it's simple to register it and it's simple to follow most of the things. But in a sense of an organization, we have got a lot of rules that are behind it, even the constitution, which are abiding the organization as well.
Cool, man. Before I let you go, there's actually a question that popped up, which basically just ties up with what you're saying. And I know they asked if I can ask both Tumelo and Diketso, but I just like to ask you, how do you make money, bro? In your business, how do you make money? Because obviously your business got to be sustainable. What is your business model for generating revenue?
Well, first thing, I Diketso, I'm selling on the mall myself. So meaning the profit also goes to the business and it also comes to me. When we look at the products that I've sold, and also per sale, for every sale, we are taking only 15% from the business that will be selling on our platform.
Okay. I'd just like to give you one more question before I move on to the other panel members, which kind of relates to what we've been talking about. Um, you're a social entrepreneur. So do you work with? I kind of asked this question a bit earlier on. You're not an NPO. You're not an NGO. So do you work with NPOs, and what motivates you to keep working on your craft and helping the community? Um, I don't know if you get the question. So
Well, I do.
I can
Well,
also
to
expand that to saying, what type of businesses do you work with? If I want to put my business on GH Mall and maybe you get paisa di tamati ko kasi or whatever I'm selling, how do I collaborate with you and how do you make money from that as well? Perhaps if I can just add that onto this question.
Okay, so GH mode doesn't exclude. So in terms of we look at people, I mean, social media is currently a very powerful platform. I mean,
Yeah,
we can salute businesses, all businesses like ball, auction culture, which managed to blew up without social media before they were there. So most people tend to be on social media and sell, and I also tell people mostly that you being on GH mode, I do not guarantee you sales. There are a lot of businesses that are there. So what I'm saying is that I'm giving you an easier way to sell to a customer. You as a physical store, at 6 o'clock, you can be closed, you can be at home. So I get as a client, as a customer, I want to buy something from you, Ezekiel. I know
sure.
you are selling shoes. So by 6 o'clock, you are offline, your shop is closed. How am I gonna buy that at 12 o'clock at night? Do I have any time? Do you think a customer has time for a cell phone number and call you tomorrow at 8 o'clock when you wake up? No, they will actually move to another business. Why? Because a simpler way of selling. I can just click with just a click of a button. I don't need to go to an ATM and withdraw. No, I can just pay online, same time, same place. I receive my invoice, automated invoice. You receive your invoice also. All the payments are done and can be couriered. So I'm offering an easier way of selling things online.
Oh, fantastic, man. Thanks a lot. I mean, I'm just gonna ask Tumelo to just quickly take the same question, how he makes money, and then I need to move on to Tiang, with the other questions. Uh, Stumza, how do you make
Sure.
money, bro? We want to make money in this country. We want to be part of the economy, man. Eh? How do you make money?
So, so look, it's twofold. My my main business is content creation for other companies, other people, other brands, right? So I'll come in as a video producer, I'll make the video, and then I'll charge the customer. They'll pay me, and then I'll give them the video. But the other one is the YouTube channel. So I have a YouTube channel, and maybe that's what people really want to find out about because it's not very clear how people make money from YouTube.
Exactly,
So
that's interesting.
whenever you watch a video on YouTube, there are a few ads that play before the video. That's something that's called ad sets, right? So the people at YouTube are very, very nice about it. They realize that content creators are really what their business is. So they've decided to give their content creators a slice of the cake. So whenever an ad plays before your video, you get a bit of the revenue. And at the end of the month, whatever revenue you've made, you get to keep. So that's how I make money. I mean, alternatively, how other people make money from YouTube is through sponsorships. Whenever you see branded content on someone's YouTube page or Instagram page, that person was paid to do that. That person was paid to create that content. That's another way of making money from social media.
Ah, dope, bro. What's your YouTube channel called? I just want a confirmation so they don't say no, this comrade is lying, eh? What's your YouTube channel called? So we can just subscribe to your YouTube channel.
I think the best way to find it is to search for Sergeant Maponya, and then you'll find it.
Sergeant Maponya.
Because
dope,
if I tell you the actual channel name, it's very hard to spell and whatever. So
I'll put it on the
just
chat. I
search
put it on
for-
the chat earlier on. Now you're putting me to shame.
No, I think that's the one. I think what you put in the chat is the one. But if you search for Sergeant Maponya on YouTube, you'll find it.
All right, cool, bro. Cool. Now, thanks a lot for that. And I'll come back to you guys. I just want to move over to Tiani and look at Tiani. What type of red tapes they say, whether in public or private sector, are constricting you to actually realizing the full potential of your business. So, are there any hindrances in terms of red tape? I know a lot of people talk about, hey man, I applied for funding at the IDC, NYDA, and so forth. What sort of hindrances do you have from the environment that you're operating in that's caused by regulation?
Mhm. Um, I mean, of course, our business luckily has moved from the founding phase where there's a lot of red tape and all that, and just to reference one that's kind of recent was applying to be a thing, or rather approached to now register as a vet vendor, and that was quite hectic, particularly because the businesses or our ecosystem consists of big corporates which have been in the game for a while. So they needed to, of course, be able to claim VAT, and of course, SARS was also on our neck. So now we had to go through the entire process, which was unfamiliar, of course. But that was just the hurdle that we were able to conquer through, of course, lawyers and accountants. But I suppose for a lot of startups in the beginning or the ideation phase or the founding phase, am I allowed to go back, or should I talk about the current
Now
one?
you can go back, bro. You can go back. Spit those bars, eh? Don't hold back, eh? Sharing is caring.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have uh, little to almost no knowledge in terms of how they can register for their company, get tax clearance and all that, and get shareholder certificates, and and the entire red tape thing. But the truth is, the internet provides that everything can be done online. I know there are people who sell to help with that, but if you give yourself time, to go onto the internet and work on these things, or rather search for these things, you will eventually find solutions. The tricky one normally is, having to bring in lawyers. Let's say there's two shareholders or four now having to sign shareholder agreement. We can use, of course, SIPs, which gives you memorandum of incorporation. I don't know how to explain it in the simplest terms, but it's always best to try and consult with lawyers who are friends to help pro bono. And there are a few organizations as well which offer consultation for free, particularly for startups, and they can be, of course, be found online. I will try to send some of the links to help with that. So a lot is available on the internet. If you do search, you will find that CIPC helps a lot with shareholder certificate, with advice in terms of tax clearance and the entire process. And also do approach, if you don't have a lawyer friend, there are other organizations which help in terms of consulting. I think that's the most hectic part of any business, if I'm not mistaken, of course.
While we're still on that, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. If you don't know, it's also cool.
Yeah.
In terms of looking at, especially from a compliance perspective, we're talking Poppy. Everybody is panicking talking about Poppy, the Poppy Act. From your perspective, especially as a business that's operating fairly online, I would say,
Mm.
what has Poppy caused any issues for your business, or is it just BAU, business as usual for your business?
Look, for us, that was and still is very important. So we had to put that up way before it was implemented or enforced to everyone on the 1st of July. And because remember, as the moving process, when you book, we have your contact number, your email address, we have your home address. We know what you have, even in terms of physical content, we know the furniture that you own. So we have a lot of data to protect. So we had to, of course, have that up as soon as we launched our web app. So we never panicked, but I understand where you're coming from and trying to ask, because it's an ongoing thing and a lot of businesses are struggling. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, sure, you did. And then I've got a question that I want to ask you related to networking. People just talk about, hey man, you need to network. Hey, but to me, I'm a serial networker. I'm a professional network. What does it mean, networking? And perhaps just thinking at grassroots level, somebody who's just starting out in business. What does networking mean? And as a guy from Kasi, how do I go about learning to network and using that even? It's not just about networking, but the end goal would be to be able to capitalize on it. So how do I go about it? What is networking? Could you perhaps maybe just elaborate on that so that our brothers and sisters are also helped in that regard?
I think to try and put it in and break it down in the simplest way would be for Koshela, basically, to connect with like-minded people, to be in spaces of like-minded people, to also try and network or connect with people that you see you can get value from, right? Then value could, of course, come in various ways, but particularly knowledge, of course, learnings. And if they are in an industry that you are tapping into, connecting with them would go a long way. If they have money to invest into your business, connecting with them is networking. If they have people around them that can help you, connecting with them is networking. So basically, networking is just reaching out to be in spaces of like-minded people, of people who you believe you can learn from them, and they can be of value. And then platforms like these, which you basically have people who are here to learn and people who are already in the industry that you perhaps would like to tap into by just reaching out and asking for an email address and asking them out for coffee. That's basically networking. It's just reaching out to connect.
Oh, fantastic, man. I think you've hit the nail on the head. And before you go, I've got another question from Percy. Did you program the app yourself or did you outsource that function? How much is it to maintain the app per month? I'm not sure if, look, I mean, if you're not comfortable with divulging specific details, because you might be giving away your competitive advantage, that's also okay. But that's a question coming from Percy. Did you program the app yourself or did you outsource it? That's the first question. Latching on to that, how much does it cost you to maintain the app per month?
In terms of costing, that of course, I could say it's okay, but we, I don't know.
Sorry,
I don't want to.
Sorry, Tiang,
Let me say.
We lost you for a second there. Tiang. Sorry, we lost you for a second there. Could you just backtrack and take the question again?
Yes. So the technology we did build in-house, and I mentioned earlier about research and development. We've brought in a company as a partner, and they just in R&D, and they work with a lot of big corporates. And in terms of the costs, it's it increases with time. Initially, it was simply at I think 4.5, and that was a while ago. But now we of course have to train the model, and there's a lot that's going on. So it's now almost times 3 or so to what we used to pay. And no, I'm not mentioning straight figures, but of course you can do the math.
Sure. No, thanks, man. Thanks for that. Before I let you go, man, there's a critical question that I want to ask, because you talk about we, which by way of assumption, you've got a team that you're working with. What are the critical leadership skills that one needs to develop when they're running a business? Because entrepreneurs sometimes operate in silos, but in order to scale a business, you've got to be able to sell the vision to the people you're working with. But that requires leadership skills. So what critical leadership skills, even if it's just 3, that you think are absolutely critical to be able to manage a small business and even scale it?
I think the one thing that I've also been mentioning a lot, first of all, the ability and the willingness to learn. And that, if I were to explain that, I might maybe take a lot of time. But look, when you are with a team, you basically have human beings with experience. You have human beings who have acquired knowledge somewhere else, and the willingness to learn, and not just to be the one who tells people what to do and to assume that you're always right, enables us, of course, to explore and think of certain things way outside our level of thinking, right? So the ability to learn, to listen, and to try understand, of course, as we're working as a team, there are opinions, and trying to understand goes a long way. Firstly, willingness to learn. 2, empathy. And empathy goes a long way, whether it's within the team and outside to your clients. But empathy is key. Just 2 seconds. And the last one, in terms of leadership, that would be decision making. And I think learning, being able to learn and allowing yourself to learn influences decision making, and they go hand in hand. But I really want to emphasize decision making, learning, and empathy.
Yeah. Fantastic, my bro. Thank you so much. I see. Tumelo is becoming a bit popular tonight. These influencers on YouTube, Tumelo, I'm gonna pass the same question to you and Diketso. If you could perhaps just touch on the leadership aspect in your journey as entrepreneurs, whether it's self-leadership if you're working alone, and if you're working with a team, what are the critical skills, leadership skills that one would say are necessary to make it in entrepreneurship?
So just who are you asking first?
So let me start with Diketso, and then I'll come back to you.
Sure.
Okay, well, first thing first, it's the ability to listen. Listening is the first thing. And patience, I always say patience is a matter of all success. If you are not patient, you become a patient yourself. So it's about you knowing you can actually manage people, and we are from different backgrounds, understand people's like Tiang has said, empathy. You need to understand people. You need to understand that we are not from the same household. We are not understand people's excuses. People shouldn't be scared of opening up to you. As Diketso, and then somebody is late, ask because he knows that Diketso has already made up his thoughts. They need to know, okay, Diketso will be there and he will listen to me, and he will obviously call me into order, but obviously he will also try by all means to understand.
Oh, fantastic, brother. Thank you so much, man. We've got amazing young leaders. You guys should be in parliament, eh? Um, but I'll leave the politics out of this just for today. Tumelo, can you take the same question related to leadership and entrepreneurship? Absolutely critical.
I'd say communication is really the most critical tool for an entrepreneur. Like you say, you have to be able to sell the idea to potential collaborators. You also have to be able to sell the idea to clients. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you can't communicate who you are, what you do, what your value is to other people, then your business is doomed to fail. So I think by far the most important thing to be able to do is to communicate. In fact, there are people who are very successful business people that have no core skills. Like there's no actual skill that this person is giving.
Yeah.
But they're able to outsource everything. They're able to connect with this person and say, hey, you develop that. Hey, you do this. Hey, you do that. So that's all communication.
Are you referring to Richard Branson?
Well, I mean, could be Richard Branson, but look, anybody.
Yeah.
Literally anybody who is a successful business person who's been doing this for a long time, that person's communication skills are way up there. Yeah.
Dope, bro. Dope. Before you go, let me just hit you with one more question here. I'm always saying one more. It's just to keep you calm, you know. One more. It's a South African one more. But how do you manage? The question is, how do you? It's addressed to yourself as well as to Diketso. How do you manage the hype around your business, especially from mainstream media versus cash inflow? Because hype does not necessarily result in revenue. I suppose the question is, how do you leverage your brand to generate revenue?
So on my YouTube business, the statement is actually not necessarily true because hype is revenue.
Okay,
on
cool,
YouTube.
cool.
You get money from views. If people watch your stuff, if people are talking about you, if you're the topic of conversation, you continue to generate more money.
Yeah.
But I do understand this question from the other side. My videography company, hype isn't necessarily revenue.
Yeah.
You need to keep in mind that you can't wait for someone to come knock on your door. You need to be knocking on a few doors yourself. So, I mean, we talk about networking here. I mean, Tiang has mentioned it and has talked about it quite eloquently. You need to network. You need to be sending out emails. You need to be knocking on doors. You need to show up at a place and say, let me talk to the person who runs this place. And actually talk to them and say, hey, this is what I do. This is how this could be of value to you. Let's work together. So yeah, that's how you manage it.
All right, dope, bro. And Diketso, yourself, your brand, man. When everybody's making noise about this mall from Kasi, GH Mall, how does that translate into revenue? Does the hype actually translate to revenue, or what's your take on that?
Well, it's all about taking lemons and turning them into lemonade. So the hype doesn't necessarily guarantee revenue, but with the data that is outsourced, that is put on our site, we are talking about that is, I mean, the hype from the media, it's free digital marketing, by the way. So I'm highly thankful for them because it's pretty much expensive. But getting more people and getting more customers, that leads us to being able to market. You know, marketing, it's about sending emails, posting on social media, and tackling potential customers on social media. You know, understanding the the navigations on your site, on how are people behaving on the mall, what are people searching that can be my potential custom client. I mean, if people are searching for shoes, certain shoes, I'm able to see it on my site, and I'm able to actually contact the person and tell them that we have got 24 people who are searching for your brand on my mall. So is it possible that you and I can be partners and work on this going further? You know, that's the hype behind it.
Ah, fantastic. Thank you so much, my brother. Guys, we are out of time, and in studio, I'm being told, all my future tenders are going to be taken away. I'm 2 minutes over time, but this is a very interesting conversation. I would, however, like to just take one more because this is a very critical question, and I'll give it to all three of you if you could just sum it up within a minute for me. Um, Press says, I hear all of you guys are from Tembisa. Ekasi, how did you or do you manage to compete in industries as a Kasi boy? So how do you compete with other businesses when your business is actually started from Ekasi? So if maybe you could take it each a bite each for 1 minute each. Is the question clear? Does it make sense, or do I need the person to elaborate? Oh, Diketso, you're on mute, my brother.
I was saying, please elaborate more.
Press, could you please unmute yourself and just shoot the question? 30 seconds, please, Press. I don't know if that's a question that came from Facebook.
Yeah, let me just quickly elaborate on that. It's just
Sure.
basically from you guys. I know all of you guys are from Kasi, and there's a lot of people in here who are wondering, how did you guys get to where you are? You are competing with big corporate companies, but you are all from disadvantaged backgrounds. So what can you say to somebody who is currently now at Winnie Mandela, to be specific, or Mandela Gofa, or anywhere else where they feel disadvantaged, but they've got this business idea that they want to use to compete against the best out there? So what would you guys say to that person?
So what I would say is thanks a lot for that question, Press. I would also just say any closing remarks that you want to share with the people out there. So just answering that question and then add on, how do people get in touch with you? Where do they find you? And how do they do business with you? We'll start off with Diketso. My brother from Tembisa. What would you say to other up and coming entrepreneurs based on your journey so far in competing and taking Kasi to the world?
Well, to be honest, it's like a young artist, like a Kasi artist who's trying by all means to blow up, or somebody from the rural areas who's trying by all means to blow up. It's you not giving up on your idea, and it's there's always going to be a competition, and your competition should be a platform which you use to learn from your competitors, see what is it that they are doing best that you are not doing, but also try by all means to have something unique into your business. And yeah, it's all about you not giving up. Just because you didn't make a sale for 2 years doesn't necessarily mean you have a bad idea. I know that there is patience and there is wasting time, but at some point, if you do have a vision, like, it won't be a time waste.
Fantastic. Thanks, bro. And how do people get a hold of you? Do they follow you on social media? Do they go onto your website? How do people do business with you and follow you?
Well, to anyone who would like to do business with me, they can just visit ghmore.co.za, or they can just Google Diketso Setho. I think all my social medias are on Google.
Okay, cool stuff. Cool stuff. Thanks a lot, my brother. I think we'll move over to Tiang, giving him the same question. Tiang, coming from Tembisa, what would you say to other up and coming entrepreneurs coming out of the hood and taking business all the way to the world? Tiang, are you still there? Tiang's left us. I think he's just struggling with internet connectivity there. Tumelo, if you take the question and then we'll just wrap it up. And also, please just don't forget to dovetail off that and say, where do people find you on social media? Or how do people get in touch with you?
Right. I think other people will have a different perspective from me, but I mean, coming from the Kasi isn't really that much of a limitation. I don't think it's as much a limitation as, your race or your gender. Of course, there will be certain things that you will have to overcome, having come from the Kasi, like maybe Hunyadziwa. But generally speaking, look, no one must ever think that I'm from the Kasi, therefore I'm limited in any way. That is different from someone who was maybe raised from a suburb, etc., etc.
Yeah.
If you've got a great idea, if you've got the confidence, if you've got the competence as well, anything is possible. You're able to do it. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. So how do you get in contact with me? www.bsv.co.za. That's my website. You can go there, get in touch with me, send me an
slow
email.
Learners. That's www for slow learners like myself. www.
www.bsv.
Yeah.
.co.za. That's my website.
Fantastic.
If you want to book my services for videography, then we can have a chat about that. But otherwise, my channel is, like we discussed earlier, the Bailey Soba on YouTube. Or you could just search Sergeant Maponya on YouTube. It'll give you the same result.
Sergeant Maponya. Let me put it in, Maponya on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, Tiang is back. Tiang, just in time, my brother. Just in time. Are you still there?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, Tiang, if you can just take that question just for 1 minute or so, just saying, as a guy coming from Kasi, what's your perception? I know Tumelo's perception differs. So from your perspective, coming from Kasi, what do you have to say to aspirant entrepreneurs coming out of Kasi? And where do people find you?
Yeah. Coming from Kasi, I believe we most of us here in the Nyana, we've suffered self-doubt because let's go sa teng a ke re sa rona ke sa 50 rand per year. And we tend to hold back because we think because we're not exposed to as much as other people have been exposed to out there. We then are not the best people to do those things, or our ideas are not relevant enough, or they we need validation from external parties. But I'd like to firstly emphasize that we need to believe in ourselves, to believe that we can, that we have what it takes, not just out of Kasi to corporate, but out of Kasi to the world. And I mean to the world in the most literal form. I think let me just mention that one. I believe the others were touched. With in terms of contacting me, Tiang Moabelo on LinkedIn and Instagram. I just have those two.
All right, fresh. Tiang Moabelo on LinkedIn and Instagram. Let me just type it in, Instagram. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, guys, to our phenomenal speakers, Tumelo, Diketso, and Tiang, thank you so much for spending time with us this evening and just investing time and giving back to us. And there are lots of nuggets that we took out of the session this evening. Thank you very much for availing yourselves. And to our guests, this event wouldn't have taken place without you. We thank you. And in the chat, there's just one more call to action, guys. Please don't forget, if you want to get involved with Funo, please reach out to Bongani. And there is also a survey form that we've put in the chat. If you could please just get into that survey and give us feedback. Feedback is the breakfast for champions. Give us feedback in terms of how the session was run and what you thought about the session. We would really appreciate that. And we do apologize for going overboard, but over time, I mean. But in the famous words of Robert Marawa from me, Ezekiel, Sese Vala Manje City, Shelele. Thank you guys. Enjoy your weekend.